Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here, and over there we've got Atheist Junior.
Hello.
Hi, Atheist Junior. Let's see. I used to do this. There we go. I keep forgetting that I have those buttons.
That's awesome.
Which, like, I mean, you'd think I'd have all sorts of use for this one, but every now and then I remember that I have those. So yeah, Atheist Junior is joining me this evening. So if you want to go check out his channel, links are in the description. I've tagged him in the video title, so you should also just be able to click on the name. That's a fairly new feature, so I don't know if it always works, because sometimes YouTube doesn't always work. It occurred to me today, as I was looking at the thumbnail image that I've used for these streams for the past 44 episodes and haven't changed except for the number on it, that my hair and beard have basically changed, like, completely flipped from what it is in the thumbnail. So I've got the short hair and the long beard, and now I've got the short beard and the long hair. So
you've been lying to people with your thumbnails, is what you're saying?
sure, that's okay. What it is. I'm still debating. Like, I don't know if I want to get my hair cut. Like, personally, I would rather have short hair just because it's easier. But if I have long hair, then my daughter has someone to practice her braiding skills on. And
that's true.
Yeah, so I'm definitely down for that. So as I pointed out a couple weeks ago, I'm playing around with down below. There's the top super chatter and the top tipper. The tipper thing, I in theory, I have a bot that's going to be putting the link in that for that, and the tipping is a little bit better for the channel because YouTube doesn't take their 30% cut of that. But also, super chats are easier to read in the chat and everything, so they both have their benefits. But if the bot is not running because it's been broken for several weeks now, and I've done very little troubleshooting on it, I did put the link for the tip in the description as well, so that will work too. If you tip enough, I might have scotch next week.
Well, I'm going to be on a show called Deep Drinks this week too, so there's going to be alcohol involved there as well.
Alcohol is good. I like alcohol. Let's see. So, how's your day been?
Oh, it's been good. You know, I've been dealing with an issue with my car where the bumper has sort of popped off because I was driving on the highway like the other night, and there was randomly this giant like car bumper in the middle of the road that I tried to avoid, but I hit it because I couldn't. I saw it like 2 seconds before I came into contact with it. But my insurance, I filed a claim for it, and they determined that it's not my fault. So they're going to pay for the repairs and
Nice.
for me to have a rental car. So that was stressful, but it turned out good. So
yeah, I remember I once ran over a there was a traffic pylon, which I guess I just learned recently that traffic pylon is not a thing that Americans say.
traffic cone.
Yeah. Well, we call them pylons up here in the Great White North. But it had been squished down by other vehicles before me. Oh, come on. Ryan, don't give me money for your birthday, but happy birthday. And thank you.
Yes, happy birthday.
Yeah, anyway, so there was this pylon that, like, it was bumper to bumper traffic, and it just, like, came out from under the car in front of me, so I had no time to react, so it went right over it, and I will never forget when it hit the undercarriage of the car. You actually heard, like, all the little pebbles and stuff that collect in the carpet, like, they actually flew up, and then you heard them all tinkle back down to the ground. That was fun.
So since that one got destroyed, does that mean the city will have to construct additional pylons? Okay, thank you.
I was gonna say what, then I remembered that I had that. So there we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I also have had a bit of a stressful day. So I am, I told you beforehand, I am getting solar panels installed in my house.
Yes.
And so I had a meeting with a guy to go over the proposal for that. And I was late to the meeting because I didn't notice the notification that I had an event in my calendar. So I was just working. I was collecting tweets for tonight and stuff. And then I got an email from him that I noticed that notification. It was like, I'm going to wait, or like, or no. So he had sent me an email that I didn't notice saying, I'm going to wait 10 more minutes. And then 10 minutes later, he was like, okay, well, let's reschedule this sometime. Clearly you're busy or something. And I'm like, oh shit. No, so I quickly jumped in. I managed to get him back. And so, yeah, I'm starting the process of getting permits and crap to get solar panels installed on my house. And then my kid called me at school and like, I feel like I'm going to throw up. So I had to go
Oh.
pick him up. And his school's 45 minutes away from home.
Mm.
So that killed my day. But I get there to pick him up, and I go, and I'm like, it's around lunchtime, so I'm like, I don't know if I need to feed him. Did he have lunch? Is he even feeling hungry? Whatever. So I'm like, so did you have lunch, kid? I'm like, yeah, I had poutine in the cafeteria while I was waiting for you. So you don't feel like throwing up because you don't eat poutine when you feel like throwing up. That's not a stomach friendly food.
That's so Canadian.
Yeah, but it is what it is. Anyway, let's do some news articles because we got some doozies tonight. Don't know if I can find the right button. There we go. So, Texas PrEP ruling goes against common sense. For those of you unaware, PrEP is a drug, stands for, let's get down here, pre-exposure prophylaxis. It is a preventative drug for HIV. So this would be like if you're in a relationship with someone who has HIV and you do not, you take PrEP so that you don't get HIV. And it's 99% effective at preventing HIV. So that's it, and it's great for like lots of people use it. Like I said, there could. Sorry, go ahead.
A lot of gay men, if not even if they're in relationships, but just if they know that they are sexually active or they might be sexually active, they take that just so they can be safe. So
Yeah.
it's a great thing.
Yeah. So it's yeah, gay men take it. Women who live in high risk areas for sexual assault take it, or people that have been victims before might take it just for a feeling of security that like if this happens again, at least that's not going to be something that I have to deal with. People in relationships, straight relationships, gay relationships, monogamous relationships, polyamorous relationship, whatever relationship dynamic you want, sometimes there's one person that has HIV and other people don't want it, so they take PrEP to avoid it. So it's a great drug that as you might imagine, it lowers cases of HIV. Well, a recent ruling in Texas held that the potential no, sorry. So a recent ruling in Texas federal court has the potential to threaten not just PrEP, but access to all common sense preventative medical care for people in the United States. Pin in that. We'll get back to that later. So there's a Christian-owned company that was basically saying the ACA is putting an undue burden on us by it's forcing us to cover this drug that we have religious objections to. Why do you have religious objections to it? Because it encourages and facilitates homosexual behavior, prostitution, sexual promiscuity, and intravenous drug use. Never mind the fact that, like, okay, setting aside the fact that that's clearly bigoted behavior, like, there's still there are straight people that use it that are now not going to be covered.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how it encourages those things. It's like this mindset of trying to block something that's going to happen anyway. It's like
Yeah.
the difference between just the war on drugs versus harm prevention. So if you know that these things are going to happen anyway, it's better to just make them safer rather than pretending like you can just stop all of this activity, which it's bigoted to even want to stop this anyway, to say that, oh, well, people shouldn't be gay. Well, that's ridiculous. That's what they think.
Yeah, but even like even setting all of that aside, let them be bigoted if they want. But did Jesus not preach to care for the sick and needy? Like, what part of Christianity is like you need to get HIV because you're engaged, because you have engaged in this behavior that God is supposed to be forgiving you for? Like, what happened to forgiveness and love and caring for those who need your care? It's like, do you think, like, well, I mean, I guess a lot of these people think that HIV is a punishment for being gay or whatever, but like, I don't know. That's Old Testament God. New Testament God generally saves the punishment for after you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these type of Christians, they aren't really their beliefs don't really match what Jesus said. It's just what they think Christianity should be. And really ultimately, I think it's just about sort of being cruel to people who have a different lifestyle or a different sexual orientation than they have, people that
Yeah.
they think live not normally, like they think they're the normal people in this country or in America. I live in Texas, so unfortunately, I see a lot of this type of thing. But I think it's just to be cruel to these people. They don't really care about what they're saying.
Naramda puts Saul says, I'm in favor of religious accommodation but completely against religious exemption. Do not care what your religion says. If you have to make X available to employees, then you damn well need to do it. Yeah. It's like religious
Yeah.
accommodation is one thing, like that, but like, and it's crazy. Like if you look at like this is their whole case rests on the passage of RIFRA. That's the religious freedom thing, where I think it was Scalia's. No, Scalia actually wrote against this. Like that's how bad it was that Scalia wrote against this, the sincerely held religious belief thing,
Hmm.
because that essentially means like there is no objective test for sincerity that you can do in a legal sense. So, and these are Scalia's words. He actually said that means that everyone becomes a law unto themselves. So, like, the stuff that these organizations are like the precedent that they're using to argue their cases is the type of precedent that was so far in the direction of religious extremism that not even Antonin Scalia could endorse it. And yeah, I forget where I was going with that, but
Well,
I started somewhere and got distracted by Scalia.
Well, these people, they chose to be business owners. So they didn't have to
Mm-hmm.
have a business where they have employees that they have to provide coverage for certain things. So that was on them. This is one of the consequences of having employees is that you're going to have to cover for medicine that you might not necessarily agree with. I can't
But even
really understand like being opposed to somebody getting their own medication. I don't get that.
yeah, like this isn't even the kind of thing that you can say like, oh, it kills babies. Like it's not even
Yeah.
like that. Like it's still none of your goddamn business. But like this is a completely different category. This is just like sometimes gay people use this drug, therefore nobody can use this drug. And it's I don't know, it's just terrible. So this article is being written by someone who actually runs an HIV clinic. They say they see many patients, young and old, gay and straight, of all races and political affiliations, who do not fit the narrow stereotypes mentioned in the lawsuit. They have patients who are in long term monogamous relationships and take PrEP because their spouse or partner has HIV and they want an extra layer of protection. Others take PrEP so that they are sure that they are protected and have control over their health rather than relying on another person. All the stuff I listed before. Some have been assaulted in the past and want to ensure that they are protected in the future. These are all valid, like, and a lot of like actually, well, I was gonna be like, oh well, maybe not the intravenous drug use, but no, that's a legitimate use for PrEP as well. Like if you know you're in that category and like you're addicted to the substance and you don't want to be, well, at least here's something you can do to make it a little bit safer for you.
Right. So like you have that scenario, and then any person who's sexually active can get HIV. So anybody who is could potentially have a legitimate reason to take this drug, and it doesn't matter if they're straight or gay or whatever. Um, so it's just like the article says, there's lots of people other than just a stereotype. But even if it was only gay men, even if it was, because that's what they think, that's what they think in their heads. It shouldn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's like gay people get headaches too, so they take Advil. I mean, they're not going to ban Advil.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like this is a Christian business. Do you think they're hiring gay people? Like they probably already have an exemption from that under RIFRA. So like you're not hiring the people that would engage in these behaviors. You're probably making people sign statements of faith saying that, like, agreeing that they're not going to be engaging in these behaviors. So clearly the people that work for you are the ones that are in the monogamous relationships. I mean, like, obviously in the real world that's not how it's going to work, but like in
Well,
like hypothetically,
right, that's true.
they
That
have.
they might be providing for people who aren't even gay, that would take this drug because they're straight and they're in a monogamous relationship. But it's like Ken Ham at the Ark Encounter, like if you want to work in the cafeteria there, you have to sign a statement of faith, I believe, that says that, basically has a young earth
I
creationist beliefs on there, and you have to sign it.
So I just read over it. It's not explicitly so preview for my channel on Friday. I'm ripping apart the Night at the Ark Encounter movie, and one of the points that I make in that is that, like, this movie could never happen in their world because they would not hire you unless you already were a believer. And at one point, like,
Mm.
Eric's walking with Tim Chafee, and he asks him a question to which the answer is no, and then Eric looks up and is like, "Oh, so you don't believe this stuff either?" It's like, and in that moment, that security guard is fired. Roll credits. That movie's over. Um, and so, like, I did read over their statement of faith, but there's a whole long section. Like, the section on gender and sexuality is longer than their section on God, which
Mm.
I might be wrong on that. I didn't do a word count, but it, like, if memory serves, it was longer. So it's like, that kind of shows your priorities there, buddy.
Yeah, that's like a microcosm of their whole what they really care about in
Hmm.
general.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. But anyway, there was a thing here. I didn't know what this was, so I kind of voted. I can move it, but I have a strong view. Should employers be required to provide coverage for HIV medication? Yes. And HIV medication makes me think more than just PrEP, also the drugs for managing it, which
Well,
again, they absolutely, like, that's another class of drugs, so like that could be next on the chopping block. Well, you wouldn't have HIV if you didn't do the gay stuff.
well, we just have to ask, do we want less people to have HIV? Because I certainly do. I want as few people to have it as possible. So, I mean, is that not what they want? Because
Scott Dillahunt is saying Citizens United being twisted beyond recognition. I think that was the decision that I just mentioned, where it was the sincerely held religious belief, the one where Scalia actually dissented. Um, and you can take from Scalia's dissent that it's not being twisted beyond recognition. It's being applied exactly as they were planning on applying it. Citizens United, I might be wrong on that one being the one from that Scalia wrote that dissent, but that is the one where corporations became people.
oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so that's not good. Oh, we've got Naramda puts sent some money. Just a second. I have to. Oh, what are we doing? Oh no, I put that in the right. Okay, I'm sorry. Your name kind of got, or your amount kind of got taken down a bit. Why is there?
The top tipper just
Yeah,
makes me
yeah,
think of
no,
like Tipper Gore.
I'm not getting the notifications coming through. I mean, it says this message was lost due to an issue between keyboard and chair, so I'm going to assume that I didn't miss anything because the message didn't come through. Because, um, let's see, why are my none of my notifications are working? Oh, you know what? I think. Oh, there we go. It was
Oh,
just really delayed. Oh no. Oh no. I hit that button so many times. So now it's just gonna. Okay, I'm gonna mute notifications for a sec. I'm sorry. Um. Yeah. No. I think. Okay. Just some housekeeping. I need to. Oh no! I don't want it there. Bye bye. And There we go. Okay. And there. Yeah, that was just I used to have my notifications were all on the same thing as my background and everything, so I couldn't like put them in front of other things. So I
Mm.
separated them out and then I put it on one thing and I forgot to do the rest. Um so yeah, all the super chats and stuff are muted for a bit until the rhino in the corner goes away cuz I hit that button so many times. uh, anyway, so it says here none of these people deserve to be stigmatized or denied services. That's the bottom line. No matter what your beliefs about their activities are, judge not lest ye be judged. It's not your decision to figure out what medications should go, like they should have access to. Like that's between them and their doctor. And yeah, if you don't want to pay for it, then don't provide company insurance.
Yeah, I just think
Like,
it's so like sad or messed up that in our society, at least in Texas, that you know most of the time I would say, well, these people have these beliefs. Well, who cares? But it actually might affect people's chances of getting the medicine. I just think that that's so wrong that
yeah,
they they even have that power and influence. But that's how our political system is in America and specifically in some of the southern states.
yeah. So now this happened in Texas. Texas already has an inordinately high number of people living with HIV. Okay, time to unmute alerts before I forget about that. They're actually they're number 2 in the nation for new HIV diagnosis. So they've already got a huge problem with HIV. This is not going to make it better. But also, you mentioned like whether or not people are going to be able to get it. So when it's not covered by insurance, generic PrEP is $60 a month. That's attainable for most people. It might be difficult for some, um, but I mean, it's not unreasonable. But the actual brand name form, which in this case there is a difference between the brand name one and the generic one. So patients with certain conditions like kidney diseases have to use the brand name one. That one costs $2,000 a month. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I know that some of the medication for if you're already living with HIV, those can be very expensive without insurance. But even this one, I mean, and it's like those people, it's like, what choice do they have if they have
oh, wait,
that kidney issue, you know?
I forgot to go back to the article. There we go. Um, yeah, no. So if you have a kidney issue and HIV, you're screwed.
Yeah. Well, these people they want people just fend for themselves. Like, well, better just hope you don't get it, not take the medication that would actually prevent you from being at risk.
Oh well, if you don't want to get it, don't have sex or use
Mm.
drugs.
Because
It's like,
being married and having sex somehow prevents it from you can still get it even if like premarital sex, it doesn't matter. Uh, but hey, if you never get married, it's not premarital sex. That's what I always say.
yeah. So but then there's the cost of prep, but then there's the cost of doctor visits, labs, and like other stuff going along with like figuring out whether or not you even need to take it and testing afterwards to make sure that it's working. That just adds to the burden. Um,
Hmm.
and basically covering prep, like if you cover the cost of the thing that stops you from getting HIV, that has now lowered that's lowered your healthcare costs for the rest of your life because now you don't have HIV, which you need to treat for the rest of your life, which is significantly more expensive than prep. So,
Yeah.
oh, they want me to write a letter to the editor. I've never seen a news article with like weird little things like this in the middle just from
Yeah,
themselves. That's kind
I
of
thought it
cute.
was I thought it was like on PolitiFact where they have the scale for how much somebody was lying, and at the highest it's like pants on fire.
No, they just, I mean, like they got links to their other articles, just like all news sites do, but then also like, hey, why don't you submit a letter to the editor? Like, all right, that's not relevant, really. Um, So Braidwood Management Inc. is the Christian company that's doing this. So they're using this to weaponize the stigma against sex, gay men, and IV drug users, and they're saying this could be a Trojan horse that disguises a larger objective to attack coverage for any preventative care. Because you can see how this they're using the sincerely held religious beliefs test, which we've established there is no test. It's just, do you believe? Well, okay, there's no test that the courts will say out loud. The test that actually gets applied is, are you Christian? Are you saying that this is because of your Christian values? If the answer to that is yes, then it's sincerely held. But as soon as you're Muslim, Jewish, atheist, Satanist, any of the other religions, then no. And we're seeing that with I actually haven't heard any updates on the. Do you know about the? There was a Jewish. I forget whether it was an organization. I think it was an organization that actually sued with regards to the abortion ban in Florida because it's a part of their religion.
No, I hadn't heard about that.
I'll have to look for an update on that one later because it's court stuff, so it's going to take years probably. But
yeah, we do have that ridiculous 6-week abortion ban here in Texas. So I will say to anybody who's watching, if you do live in Texas, please vote for Beto O'Rourke in November. Please get this guy out of office, please.
And don't forget to vote for your House representatives and Senate representatives, and local elections too are important. Sometimes I hate the local elections though, because there's one of mine coming up and I have no idea what any of the candidates stand for because none of them have websites and there aren't any town hall meetings. It's wow. I'm not just what am I going to do? Just pick the name that I like the best?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got Bastion 5 says the bitter water potion. Yeah, that's in Numbers chapter 5 where the Bible explains how to perform an abortion.
Classic.
Yeah. So PrEP is on the list of drugs that have been mandated must be covered by the Affordable Care Act. So insurers are not allowed to not cover it. And because it's got the strong, I think there are 2 categories that are mandated, and they're the ones with the strongest recommendations from the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force. And so PrEP is on the list, and it's one of the most strongly recommended ones because it's such a no-brainer. It helps spread disease, but yeah, so they say other USPSTF, that's a fun acronym, that's the Preventative Services Task Force. Other recommendations in the same category include things like screening for colon cancer, which I could see that disappearing under this as well, because gay men are more likely to get colon cancer than straight men. So clearly, colon cancer screenings are going to encourage gay sex.
Yeah, definitely.
And also medication to prevent eye infections in newborns. I can't see how that would be refused, but at the end of the day, the insurance companies are going to cover as little as they possibly can because they're profit-driven companies, which is why they charge ridiculous amounts of money for healthcare in the States.
Well, a gay couple could adopt a newborn that has an eye infection.
Oh, true.
I mean, we don't want that. We don't want kids to be adopted.
See, my gut reaction when you say that is to say, oh, that's a bit of a stretch, don't you think? But so many things have actually happened that 5 years ago I would have said that's a bit of a stretch. 1 year ago I would have said that's a bit of a stretch for a lot of them. At this point, my biggest political concern is keeping Pierre out of the prime minister's seat. That's Pierre Elliott Trudeau? Do you mean Justin Trudeau? Or is there another Pierre that's running that I am not aware of yet? I don't know. It's not federal elections coming up. It's the municipal elections. I actually know who I'm going to vote for mayor because they actually do say what they're going to do. But yeah, I have no idea for city council. I don't know which councilman I want representing me because they don't say what they're going to do. Anyway, that's off topic.
Well, I know for where I live, I can just vote straight Democratic ticket. I don't know if it's different with the political parties in Canada.
Yeah, our city councilors aren't affiliated.
Okay.
They just are who they are.
you really do have to just guess. I then
Yeah.
guess.
So I can't
Yeah.
even go by party platform, no. Um, but yeah, I mean, I talked to one guy and he seemed okay, but he said a couple things that were kind of red flaggy, so I'm not sure.
Mm.
But he also owns a train museum. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
But like, I asked him for a card so I could find more information on him, and the card had his phone number and his email address and no website.
Yeah, I don't know how you can be like a candidate and not have a website in this year.
Yeah, it's so basic. Well, I mean, the demographics of my town skew very old, so the
I
people
see.
that like are actually going to go and talk to these people are probably the ones that are going to get the most votes.
So, oh, so going door to door is actually
Uh,
a good
P-
strategy for them.
Pierre
Wow.
Polivier. Okay, that's not Pierre Elliott Trudeau. And then Reggio says, "Hello, Vice Rhino and AJ." Yeah,
Hello.
I'm not as dialed in. Like I actually don't really like politics all that much, so I'm not as dialed in during the off seasons. When there's an election coming up, then I start like I'll listen to the political podcasts, and I like I look at what they've been doing for the last several years. But yeah, I couldn't tell you who's like. I know Jagmeet Singh used to be running the New Democrat Party, but I think he had a bit of a scandal. And did he resign? I think he resigned. Did Andrea Horwath take back over? You guys don't care. This is Canadian politics. I'm talking about American politics here, man. You don't care about Andrea Horwath. Anyway, basically they're using stigmatizing language to deny people health care services that would actually, in the long run, lower cost for everybody. And
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
yeah, it's ridiculous, is what it is. It's not just unfortunate. Anyway, I've been meaning to. Okay, so I keep forgetting to do this, but I've been meaning to say like where I'm getting these articles from because you can't always tell from the website. This is NBC. I should have said that at the top. This comes to us from NBC. Just to make sure I'm using reputable sources. I mean, half the time I just go to Only Sky. They're pretty good. Usually it's Hemant Meta. I think, yeah, we got one Hemant Meta article in here. Anyway, next story. Polio's back. Yay!
Yay.
That's exciting.
Guess who's back?
Yeah, polio. That's not exciting. No.
No, no,
See,
it's horrible.
do you want to go in the iron lung? Do people really want to go in this thing? Eh,
I get claustrophobic just looking at it.
yeah, no. Well, I'm vaccinated against polio. So, but
Mm.
anyway, so this is actually this is damage control in advance, I guess, because there was some recent news that like the CDC just released a report on this yesterday that anti-vaxxers are going to be jumping all over. Because okay, so just background, in August, the United States had its first case of paralytic polio since 2013. It had been eradicated in the States since 2013. And it emerged in an area that as you would expect, has a low vaccination rate, about 60%. The country's average is 80%, which still seems kind of low. But the polio virus was still showing up in wastewater samples. And it's concerning because this was paralytic polio, so it actually caused the guy to be paralyzed. And that happens at a ratio of about one case out of every 2,000, which means that there are 1,999 people going around with polio that's been undetected
Can you imagine
and
how
potentially spreading.
frightening that would be to get that and then your illness is like a news story? Like you're the first person to get polio in a while and like it becomes national news. Like that's
Well,
just but should have gotten vaccinated.
I haven't seen anyone reporting his name.
Well,
I'm
okay.
actually just guessing at the he, I think. Did it say? Maybe I shouldn't.
I guess not.
Okay. Samuel Patre says, I live in Sarasota, Florida, the new right-wing nut job home. Yeah, Florida man central. Truth Social, Flynn, Charlie Kirk, you name it.
Oh, Charlie Kirk is the worst.
Charlie Kirk is the worst. Oh, no, apparently U.S. had eradicated polio transmission in 1979. So I guess you get the occasional cases that pop up. But, like, they they react fast and it doesn't show up in the wastewater samples.
Mm.
But this is the first time it's actually started spreading through the community. Now I'm probably just going to read through these points verbatim, but the thing that the anti-vaxxers are going to jump on is that this version of polio actually did evolve from a weakened polio variant that was in the oral vaccine. So this is where people are like, oh, vaccine shedding is an issue. So if you get a vaccine, you can actually spread that disease for a while. And so this is like the one instance where that holds more truth than it normally does. Because like shedding is a real thing after you get a vaccine. Like some vaccines, you're not supposed to go see people that are immunocompromised for like a week or so, because there is a chance that you can then spread the weakened version to them, but the weakened version will live in their weakened immune system and actually wreak havoc. But in this case, it was actually a mutation from the weakened variant in the oral vaccine, which is a mutation that it's known to be possible, but it happens so rarely that it's generally like, as long as everybody's being vaccinated, it's not going to be an issue. Like it happens once in several million doses. And so like this means that there have been several million doses given, and now we've got this one variant. But I'm just going to read pretty much right through this post here, because it it dispels the misinformation and everything. And yeah, Robert said saying we were so close to extincting polio. Yeah, like they were chasing that down for years. There was like the case numbers were in the dozens, and like it was like 20 to 30 cases per year. And they were always just like chasing it down and like, okay, now let's vaccinate everybody that was in that community and now chase it down to the next place. And yeah, it's back. So there's two forms of the polio-based vaccine. There's the oral one, the injection one. The oral one has slightly better efficacy rates because it follows the same path that polio follows through your system. And so the more similar you can make it to the actual disease, the better the immune response. And this is why that's actually why the non-mRNA vaccines tend to make people feel worse the next day than the mRNA vaccines, because they're more like a normal virus. But in that case, because of the genetic engineering with the mRNA ones actually had slightly higher efficacy rates. But that's a different topic. Oh, I on Twitter, I posted a screenshot. Whenever I talk about vaccines, I always get the inevitable, you're a big pharma shill. So just for the memes, several months ago, I bought one share of Pfizer, and they finally paid out a dividend. So I
saw that.
I posted a screenshot of the 53 cents that Pfizer paid me. I'm like, I have a confession to make. I am on Big Pharma's payroll. Here's the 50 cents they gave me. So that was fun. So the oral version is slightly better for giving you a more of an immune reaction, but because it uses the weakened version of the virus, there is that slight risk of a mutation that would emerge to basically give it the ability to affect our neurons. Actually, it's the neurovirus right here. This virus regains neurovirulence. That's one of those words that I know how it's pronounced, but it just doesn't make its way out of my word hole properly.
Virulence. But yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't like my mouth just trips on it on its way out. But you guys know what I'm talking about. Neurovirulence. Can't do it. Sorry, I'm done trying. The ability to affect our neurons during its passage through the gut, creating an infection that risks paralysis and death. Because of this rare but extreme flaw, the United States and most other developed nations switched to the injection-based vaccine in the year 2000. Countries of lower means have not, because the oral vaccine is easier to store and administer, and it's probably cheaper as well. IPV, while safer for individual recipients, does not grant communal benefits because it does not spread through our wastewater system. So I guess one of the benefits of the oral vaccine, which sounds really disgusting and I don't even want to think about it, was because it spreads through wastewater, then if you were going to get polio from the wastewater, you would get the vaccine from the wastewater. And it's kind of like, putting it out in the wild and now you're vaccinated. I don't like that. I don't like thinking about that. But I mean, that's how it spreads. So, so it didn't like you couldn't accidentally vaccinate people with the injection one, but I guess you could with the oral one.
I mean, if we could have gotten people vaccinated for COVID that way, it would have been good.
Oh yeah, that would have been
Just trick them.
Putting the chemicals in the water that turned the frickin' frogs gay.
Well, that's kind of how that happened, I think, because there was like birth control pills or something similar to that had hormones in them, like estrogen, got into the environment of those frogs and like feminized some of them or changed their gender.
Oh, so that was actually based on a little bit of truth.
Yeah, there was actually a kernel of truth in that story.
Because
I looked into it.
I've always just assumed that was his take on water fluoridation.
Yeah, no, that I don't think that it had anything to do with the fluoride story. I think it was a separate thing, but yeah, it still didn't turn any frogs gay. It was just like because frogs can naturally change their sex, I believe, some of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, frogs be trans.
Mm-hmm.
My God. Okay, you're teaching me how to pronounce a word, but I can't pronounce your name. Lubelar. Lubular says virulent.
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like there should be like it's not. I don't know. I'm done. I'm not even gonna try. That's just not a word that my mouth is capable of saying for whatever reason. I don't know why. Sorry. Anyway, if local immunity through vaccination were higher, then this whole it mutates once in every several million doses to have the ability to affect our neurons would not be a problem because we would be vaccinated against it. And that's what vaccines do. They protect you from this sort of stuff. But where vaccination rates are low, there's a better chance for these weakened viruses to actually have some sort of effect on people. So now, as long as polio still exists in the world, a country with no polio is still at risk. That's why I like when I got my polio shots, there was no polio in Canada, I don't think. But I still got my polio shots because there's still polio in the world, and it is one of those diseases that spreads for like very, very silently. And so like some people get it without ever knowing they've had it. And like, like with the paralysis thing, like if there's one case of that, there's like 2,000 undetected cases.
Okay. Yeah, that's something you don't even want to risk getting,
Lube LR is how you pronounce that. Lube LR.
It made me think of like we have a lot of Mexican candy where I live, and the names are in Spanish, and one of them is Boo Boo Lubu Boo Boo. Like that.
I love that.
They're good too.
Alrighty. So the CDC found enough genetic changes to the polioviruses in Rockland County wastewater samples from the surrounding area. In Rockland County wastewater, samples from the surrounding area, and the sample from the now paralyzed young man. That's where I got that it was a he. It does say young man, and I have read this before, so I wasn't just guessing. To meet the definition for a circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus, or CVDPV. Like, whatever. Low vaccination rates create this health crisis. Higher ones are needed to stop it. So, the end of the day, yes, this vaccine did have its origin, or this virus did have its origin in a vaccine. And this is one, like, I feel like this can be used, like, whenever people say, like, oh, well, the CDC designed COVID to control the masses or whatever. It's like, no, or like the lab origin, like it escaped from a lab, and scientists are denying that because they want you to trust them. It's like, no, when stuff like that actually happens, they tell you because it's important to get. Now the lab being in China, I could see some secrecy going on there, but there was also genetic evidence that suggested that it was wild derived rather than lab derived.
Well, I saw a statistic that, because a lot of people believe that the virus came out of Wuhan, China, and there was a big rise in the number of hate crimes against Chinese
Mm-hmm.
American citizens,
Yeah.
um, like a huge increase in like 2020 or 2021. And so there's been a lot of racism against people, I think just for that reason.
Well, I mean, when the president of the country is calling it the China virus, like that
Yeah,
doesn't really help. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to smack my microphone like that. But
maybe be
anyway,
nice to your mic.
it's too expensive for me to treat badly. Um. Anyway, that's basically just wanted to get this information out here before the anti-vaxxers jump on it, because the 58 people that are watching the stream are going to be the ones that can make all the difference in the world. Every little bit helps, though.
Yeah.
And you know what? A couple hundred people at least will watch this clip. So next up, we got Christian teachers twerking at school.
Oh.
So a teacher at Christian school arrested after twerking on student at prom. So I guess that would be like the dancing where you could just stick your butt right up against them and twerk. That's a Christian teacher, Christian school.
Christian twerking.
Christian
Twerking for Jesus.
twerking for Jesus. Twerking for the Lord. So, a teacher at Point of Grace Christian School in Florida was arrested for sexually inappropriate behavior with a child. I'm sorry, that actually occurred several months ago. Let me try this again with a more updated headline. A teacher at Point Grace Christian School in Florida was arrested for sexually inappropriate behavior with a child. So, this isn't the first time this has happened with this lady, apparently.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So back in June, this high school math teacher at the Christian school was arrested after a parent discovered sexually explicit text messages between the teacher and her son. And she didn't go to jail, but she was charged with the crime of being an authority figure soliciting sex with a student, which is a felony. Which don't felonies have a minimum jail time of like 5 years or something? Or is
I
it
don't
just
think so.
Or is it just that, like, if the jail time is 5 years, then it is automatically a felony? I don't know. There's something about 5 years with felonies. Might have nothing to do with this.
Might be if you get convicted of it in court. Not sure.
I don't know.
And I think the bail is set higher for felonies than misdemeanors. Know that?
Yeah, well, she was released after posting a $15,000 bond, so
Hmm.
that's not small. She was fired from the Christian school, so kudos to the school. They did the right thing eventually. But as we'll learn later, they should have done it a lot sooner.
Yeah, I hate to stereotype, but it always seems like it's a blonde teacher. Am I wrong about that?
I don't know.
I've just noticed this in a couple of these stories.
How many teacher twerking stories are there?
Well, not necessarily
I
twerking, but
know.
texting, sexting. I mean, maybe they were twerking. They just didn't they missed that detail.
Okay, so she was fired from the school, but then last week she was arrested again after law enforcement officials discovered additional inappropriate behavior during further investigation. So during the school's prom, she was pressuring a student to drink alcohol at the event. The student said when he was on or near the dance floor, Hoover, the teacher, is Miss Hoover. Miss Hoover, my cat's breath smells like cat food.
Well, have you seen that episode of The Simpsons where Bart is much older and it's like it shows him and the teacher in bed and he's like smoking a cigarette, or she is because she always smoked, and he says, "So that's why they call you Miss Hoover."
Are you sure that was The Simpsons and not like The
Yeah, there's
Simpsons as
this.
found on Pornhub?
No, there's a screenshot of The Simpsons that I saw
'Cause I
like
remember
that.
something like that, but I thought it was Mrs. Krabappel, and so that joke would not work with her.
Right.
And I don't think Miss Hoover smoked. Maybe she. Oh yeah, no,
Mr.
they.
Bopple smoked.
Yeah, no, no. Now that I think about it, in the iconic scene where they discuss how "imbiggen" is a perfectly cromulent word, both of them are at the back smoking.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, anyway, so this happened at the prom, and at least two other people corroborated the story and told investigators that they got in between Hoover and the student several times trying to get the teacher to stop. I don't know for sure, but that sounds like it wasn't other students getting involved here. It was like other authority figures, other teachers being like, hey, no, this needs to stop, cut this out now, sort of thing. And if it was
Was she drunk?
probably they had alcohol that was supposed to be for the staff after the kids had all gone home. Um,
Hmm.
but she had gotten into it first.
So
But
does it
like,
say if it's a high school or a middle school?
well, it's a prom, so I would assume high
Okay.
school.
Okay. Okay.
Do middle schoolers get proms?
No, they just have like dances.
Yeah.
At least that's what we had.
Yeah, but just because, so this no matter how this plays out, it's negligent on the part of the school because so these two other people that got involved, if they were students, then it's negligence because they didn't have enough staff there to manage the dance. So like they like, or like the adults saw it going on and ignored it. Um,
I just think it's kind of funny this image of this woman who is so determined to twerk that there are people interfering and getting in between the twerking and she's still just going like
yeah,
like this woman was on a mission to get that booty out there.
yeah, but like, but then if those two people were staff, then they waited until she was arrested after the sexting thing came out to fire her. They didn't, and this happened before the sexting thing came out. So it's like, I feel like that's a fireable offense before it hits the news.
Hmm.
So
But
this,
sorry, did the article say that there was people at the dance trying to get in between her and the kid while
yes,
she was doing this?
yes.
Okay, because that's
And
just
so,
a funny mental image to
well,
me.
yeah, no, it is absolutely. But at the same time, it's like it, no matter who, it doesn't say who those two people are, whether
Okay.
they were staff or students. And like, no matter how you slice it, it's negligence on the part of the school.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
this dance took part in April. Oh, I see someone saying that there was a 17-year-old high school student is the victim. Actually, it's unclear
Hmm.
whether the sexting victim was the same as the dance victim. So it might be two different kids. It might be the same kid. We don't know. They're a minor, so their identity is protected. So the dance happened in April, which was around the same time as the text messages were going back and forth. So she got arrested and then out on bond without the school really coming forward with this. Like investigators had to dig it up. So like they still tried to cover it up even after firing her. Um, yes, it's not clear from the police records if the students in both scenarios are the same one. Either way, there was a clear pattern of behavior for Hoover that the school either didn't recognize or failed to stop. And so, yeah, there's like this kind of behavior doesn't come out of nowhere. So
Hmm.
there were probably red flags that were going up all over the place that the school was ignoring.
Yeah. It seems to be a real, and this is in America, I believe.
I want to say it was Florida, but that, yeah, it is Florida.
Oh, classic. Yeah, it
Classic
seems like
Florida.
there's a real pattern of this in America. I don't know why, but teachers, they just, well, I mean, the teachers can be pretty young here, fairly young. So sometimes there's not that huge of an age difference between male students who are almost 18 and then fairly young teachers, but it's still inappropriate no matter what, you know?
She was 38.
Hmm. Just find somebody your own age. Like,
Okay.
Why
Okay.
why do this when you
I don't even understand that because like anyone that's like 25 and younger to me feels like a child.
yeah,
Like
like
I don't know how anyone would like seek that kind of a relationship with someone that like I mean when like as you get older it gets not such a big deal. Like I mean I, well, okay, I would assume that when I'm like 60, a 30-year-old isn't going to seem like a child, but that's still probably
yeah.
too much of a difference. Whatever. Um, my point is that like young 20s are still basically children that I would not want to have that kind of a relationship with. So I don't understand why someone would go for a 17-year-old.
Yeah, it's when you get older and an age difference doesn't matter that much, but it starts to become uh, very illegal when you get to a certain age, like especially when the person in
Yeah.
question is not even they're still a minor, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like obviously it's like she knows that this is illegal. She knows what kind of trouble she could get in, and she knows she has to have seen these type of stories on the news before, and yet they still do this. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so the apologists will always tell us that the reason the states is going down the shitter is because we need to get prayer back in schools. Well, Point of Grace Christian School begins each morning with a 45-minute Bible study. They then pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and the Bible, as well as the American flag. They pray frequently throughout the day and have chapel twice a week, or bi-weekly. Is that twice a week or once every 2 weeks?
That's once every 2 weeks,
Okay. What's bi-monthly then?
once every 2 months,
I thought.
I think.
Mm,
Because like I think biannual means it's you do it every 2 years.
I
I don't
thought
know. Chat will
biannual was every six
correct us.
months. Whatever. We are
I
bi
don't know.
confused. Oh, John Wayne doesn't know about the Christian flag. Okay, let's.
Well, when I was in middle school, we had to pledge allegiance to the Texas flag and the American flag.
This is the Christian flag.
God hates flags. Oh,
It's not the first time I've heard that, but I didn't expect it there. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so this school is just full of prayer and Bible study and chapel, but yeah, this stuff like this still happens. Oh yeah, here we go. They missed every red flag associated with her. So why should parents trust the administrator's judgments anywhere else? But at the end of the day, this is a private school, so this is not really going to affect them much.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's our news articles for the night. Shall
Yeah,
we?
the design for the Christian flag is not doesn't look very good.
No, well, it's supposed. There are representations there. Like I think it's supposed to be like the white on it is supposed to be the pure white lamb of God or whatever, and the blue represents something else. I mean, I don't know. I went to a Christian school, but we didn't actually have the Christian flag. That's mostly an American phenomenon. And I have heard it explained before, but because it wasn't part of my growing up, I am just not really aware of it.
Have you ever seen the TED Talk about flag design?
No.
Oh, it's really good. I'll see if I can send you the link to it after this. It's one of the most popular TED Talks on YouTube.
Really? I
Yeah,
like
it's surprisingly interesting.
I like the TED Talk. It might have been a TEDx talk because like there is a difference in quality between TED and TEDx. But it goes over what is it? Chopin's Serenade in E minor. So Chopin's something in E minor, and it basically explains that like what makes some music good is what amounts to musical edging. So it's like throughout the whole piece, it gets to like it's it's hard to like with. Well, I could play my guitar to give an example, but anyone who knows music in the audience, if you have like a sustained chord, your ears want to hear next the non-sustained version of that chord. They want the sustain to go away, and like that's not the only pattern of that. There are other patterns in music that we expect, and our brains have been trained to look for this pattern. And the thing about this one piece by Chopin is that it almost resolves several times, but it never quite does. And so like it always keeps you waiting. It keeps you right on the edge of like the resolution is almost there, and like we're getting there but not quite, and then the song starts over again. It like repeats a bunch, and then it almost gets there again. And then finally, the only time when the resolution chord is played is the very last chord of the song. And so it's just finally, there's just that, oh, the release at the end. So it's musical edging. Chopin gave us musical edging. And that also kind of, if you want to be an old curmudgeon about it, you can take that and be like, that's why modern music is bad, because they just give you the resolution every four chords. Every fourth chord is
horse.
Every fourth
Slutty
chord
music.
is the resolving chord. So you like every couple of seconds in the song, you get your musical rocks off.
Yeah.
I did not expect to talk about musical rocks tonight or getting them off. So
Musical blue balls.
musical blue balls. Anyway, let's read some tweets, shall we? Gonna start with Dustin Benge, who says, the Bible was written by 40 different authors over a period of 1,500 years, yet it tells one cohesive story from Genesis to Revelation. Jesus Christ reigns as Lord and Savior. My main issue with this is that it doesn't even tell one cohesive story between Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2.
Yeah, and I mean, it's totally ignoring the fact that the Jewish religion has basically their book, and the Christian religion was kind of stapled onto that. It acts like that, you know, they're basically two different religions. That's why they call it Judeo-Christianity.
Yeah, because they're not the same.
Yeah. I mean, is Jesus even mentioned in the Old Testament?
It depends who you ask. I say no because I don't believe it's true, but like they'll point to like the prophecy in Isaiah, or the other one in, well, there's another one in Isaiah, and then I think there's a couple in Psalms. That if you like start reading after a certain point and stop before you get to the point where it stops looking like it applies to Jesus, then it looks like it applies to Jesus. But like one of the more popular ones, you go on and it's like, oh, and then he will live to see his children. You're like, did Jesus have kids? That's not canon.
No.
So it's like, okay, that one doesn't apply to him. And then like and Matthew, whoever wrote the Gospel of Matthew, really, really fought hard to make these Old Testament prophecies say Jesus. And he really messed around with them a lot of the times. Like the you, O Bethlehem of the house of David, was to you, unto you a savior will be born, like that famous line. That's actually, if you go and read that, I think it's Micah 5:2. It's Bethlehem Ephrathah, which is a clan who is, and the whole thing is like, you Bethlehem, who is least among the tribes of Judah. Is like, no, it's you, O Bethlehem Ephrathah, who is such a small clan that you're not considered one of the 12 clans of Israel. From you will be born a child that by the time this child grows up to a point where he knows right from wrong, the kings that are surrounding the land will have given up and left.
Yeah,
So it's like that's not Jesus at all.
Yeah, when he could choose like between honey or curds for his breakfast, when he had the ability to make choices like that, and that prophecy was wrong anyway, I think, and everybody died because of it.
I don't recall that, but I know that it's very obviously not Jesus if you read the whole thing.
Yeah, it's not Jesus.
Yeah, so yeah, Bible's not really very cohesive. But also, if it was 40 different authors, then was it really written by God? Because God's only one author.
Well, he inspired people. For some reason, it
I
had to be
know.
40 different people. I doubt this person could list who they are,
Yeah,
but
see, that's another thing. Is like God is supposed to be unchanging, but like clearly he does change. Otherwise, he like something changed at some point in history that made him want to send his son to be the salvation of mankind. Like if God is unchanging, that doesn't make sense. It should have been like the first child of Adam and Eve should have been the savior.
yeah, or it's like when God laments that he made man because they're so wicked. It's like, well, why would God have regrets if he already knew that that was going to happen? It doesn't really make much sense, you know?
Or why did I regret that I have made Saul king, for he was not genocidal enough for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he wanted to keep some of I think the livestock for himself,
The
but God
livestock
said, no, you
and the king.
got to keep them. Yeah, you got to kill all of them.
He killed all the men, women, and children, but he kept the livestock and the king alive, and that was just not acceptable. He had to kill them too.
Yeah.
So yeah, he saved one person, and that was too much for God. Joel Berry says, one thing I've noticed about people who leave Christianity is that they go directly into therapy. You think there might be a reason for that?
Yeah, maybe it has something to do with telling children that hell exists.
Yeah, yeah. As like religious trauma syndrome is a real thing. I think I might have the name slightly wrong. Yeah, religious trauma syndrome. So yeah, it's an actual like that's an actual diagnosis that exists. And on top of that, therapy is just good. Everybody should have a therapist. I have a therapist, and it's not religion related. It's ADHD related.
Yeah, there is a real stigma against therapy, like especially with men, that you've got something wrong with you if you're going into therapy. You know, not just that life is kind of shitty and hard as it is, and we could all use a little bit of help. You know?
Like at its very basic level, like the one of the main things that therapy can be is someone that you can trust to keep your secrets and tell them all the dark things that go through your head without judgment. Because
Hmm.
like you can't like sometimes you get the thoughts that like, oh, I know that's going to be very socially unacceptable for me to say, and then you can tell your therapist and then they can help you work through that. Whereas if you don't have a therapist, then that they just build up.
Yeah, and then you have
No,
like a
I'm
celebrity who
I'm not crazy. Like other people get dark thoughts too. Like that's not like am I telling on
no,
myself here?
it's a it's there's a word for it. It's like call of the void or something like that, where like if you're standing at the top of a building and you get the sudden urge to jump off or to drive your car into oncoming traffic, random thoughts like that. Maybe you're talking about something else, but I think everybody gets that because you
Yeah,
can't
it's in the
really
same category, I think.
control
But
what thoughts you get, you know? I've certainly experienced that before.
yeah,
But yeah, um, it, having somebody to talk to you about like there's certainly like some celebrities who maybe if they had that they wouldn't tweet like bad things or like say the N word.
maybe. I don't, yeah, but like therapy is just a good thing. Like if and
Yeah.
this is what like I wish therapy had better coverage. In like in Canada, you get basically along with my ADHD diagnosis came 6 sessions of therapy, and if I'm not fixed in those 6 sessions, then I'm on my own or I have to pay for it. Um,
Oh, I'm sure that wouldn't cause anybody anxiety.
yeah, it's like I have a condition that we know is like permanent and lifelong. Here's one summer's worth of therapy for you to deal with that for the rest of your life. Um,
Well, it's still possible that in
it's
those 6 sessions they could teach you some type
yeah,
of
they're like
behavioral
coping
therapy
mechanisms and stuff like that. Yeah,
that you could
absolutely.
remember.
I'm not
So,
saying it's without value. I'm just saying it's
sure.
kind of weird that like it's a permanent problem.
Yeah.
But
It is
Yeah,
kind of ridiculous, but yeah.
yeah. No, there. I really wish there weren't so many hoops to jump through for that sort of thing. Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that, like, one of the things about getting the ADHD diagnosis is it's basically designed to be as hard as possible for someone with ADHD to actually follow through with everything. So
Right.
there's so many, like, you have to call and make this appointment, then you have to fill out paperwork and remember where you put the paperwork so you can bring it back to the doctor in 30 days. And while you're waiting that 30 days, you have to also call and make this appointment. It's just like basically everything that would be difficult for someone with ADHD is stuff that you have to do in order to get through it.
Yeah. There's something that's misunderstood by a lot of people is ADHD. I think a lot of society doesn't understand what exactly it is.
It gets made light of in media often enough that it's just like that's just like the normal, like, oh, I got distracted by something, so that's ADHD, haha. um Anyway, Kevin Sorbo is next. He says, you can hold up the bloodied head of Trump for a skit, spend an entire summer burning down businesses, and forcefully shut down the country, but the people who call you out are the problem.
They're still mad about that Kathy Griffin thing.
Is that who that was?
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
I saw people complaining about it on Twitter the other day, but no, I mean, I think that the police brutality that caused these protests that eventually led to some of these riots is the problem. It's not people calling them out on Twitter. That's the problem.
Yeah, no. So my response to this was you can remove the right to bodily autonomy, have a police force that brutalizes minorities, and get overly involved in consenting adults' sex lives, but sure, the people who protest those things are the problem. Because, like,
Yeah, I think they want to be the problem because they want the attention.
no, this whole thing is literally "Know You" the tweet,
Yeah.
which actually, you know about that Breitbart movie, My Son Hunter?
No, but I did watch something similar recently. What is a Woman by Matt Walsh.
Yeah, I don't know if I could get through that one.
I didn't make it very long. I didn't make it very far in it.
I've seen clips, and there's some stuff in there that's like, why did you leave that in? She completely handed you
That's
your ass.
that's exactly how I felt watching it.
He just makes an idiot of himself and thinks that he did well.
Yeah.
But anyway, in My Son Hunter, it's basically, so I did watch it. I do not recommend anyone watches it unless they are aware of certain websites that I'm not going to recommend for legal reasons. But anyway, what was I going to say?
My Son Hunter.
Yes, My Son Hunter. First off, the actor playing Hunter Biden actually looks a bit like Don Jr. And that made it so hard to actually, like, remember that it was Hunter Biden when he's like going to these coke fueled orgies and doing crack and everything. It's just like, that looks like Don Jr. doing crack and cocaine and all this stuff. But the entire movie, the whole thing was like everything that Trump has ever done. They take the most memorable language from that and they use that to try and say that that's something that Hunter Biden did. So it's basically Know You the movie.
Mm.
And basically like pretty much and they basically admit that everything that he does in that movie that, like, they haven't blatantly made up out of whole cloth was actually legal. They admit that flat out several times. But then the stuff that they get to that actually would be illegal, when you look into that, there are times when it's like, oh, this person that is actually doing the illegal thing, when you Google their name, they don't even exist.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's just like the whole thing is just Know You. That's all it was.
Mm-hmm. And then they accuse the other side of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Know you, you know you.
Yeah.
You're the one who does know you, not me.
Yeah, but it was a ride. That movie was a ride. Anyway, okay, so now we got the comic. I've left this big so we can see it. So I'm sorry it's obstructing the chat a bit. So, first panel there, we've got think it's funny to wear a terror symbol to school. And then he's saying hilarious while leaning back in the chair. He's got his red MAGA hat in his hand. Principal says, keep this up and you're on track for an expulsion. And he says, wouldn't that be a shame? And you'll have no choice but to get a GED. Okay. First off, I actually kind of hate it when I think it's Lauren Boebert that got the GED. I kind of hate it when people make fun of her for that because in some ways, a GED actually is better to have than a high school diploma because it says that like, oh, I made a mistake when I was younger and I realized that it was a mistake, so I took actions required to fix it. So it shows that you have a willingness to take correction, to learn from your past mistakes, to grow as a person. Like, I don't like that people make fun of Lauren for getting her GED. Like there's plenty to pick on there that's not that. Anyway, then the only place that will take you will be a trade school. Also not true. You can get into college with a GED. And then he says promise and puts his hat back on. So I'm using this to basically show that like when we say that the right is anti-education, we're not being hyperbolic. This is literally being like, no, I want to drop out of school, get my GED, and then go to trade school, which trade school's fine. If that's what you want to do, trade school's fine. That's good. Like we need electricians and builders and general contractors and stuff like that. Those are things that society needs. People that want to do that should be able to do that. But higher education is also something that society does very well with. When more people are educated, the society is better.
Yes. I just like how the principal is portrayed as this like red-faced, angry old boomer, and then you just have the kid who's supposed to look like some badass, rebellious, like rebel without a cause, who's probably smoking in the boys' room, like leaning back in the chair. It's just the imagery is really funny to me, even though the comic is really stupid.
What I found funny about this is that particularly in the second panel, he looks very effeminate. Like he's got the high heel boots on, the skinny jeans, like
and the V-neck.
Yeah, so like that's not what I would typically picture as being the like they typically like to have the alpha male persona going. People say MAGA hat probably. Yeah, it's a MAGA hat. You can barely see it. It says "Make America Great Again" on the fourth panel. But I also want to just, if I can make this big for a second, if we look at the principal's desk again to show that this is anti-intellectual, anti-education. These are the posters that the evil principal has on his desk. So this is the bad guy principal. It says read, because that's bad. And then equity equals justice. Okay, well, we all know that they don't like equity, and they're probably thinking like there's that equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome thing, which is a bit of a red herring. Like there is some merit to it, but generally nobody's trying to equalize outcomes. Well, I mean, like I'm so ideally, yes, you want everybody to have good outcomes. But like not everybody will take advantage of everything that they have available to them to get the good outcome. So that's a utopia that's never going to happen, but equality is still something that we should strive for. But anyway, and I don't know what the first two words on that one are supposed to be. It was something not hate.
Probably like hugs, not hate, something like that. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, this is just the right showing their true colors. So when they tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah. And the backgrounds are really weird. Like he's got like the background in the second panel and the third panel, it's like green with like these weird plants, and then in the fourth panel the background is just like green lines. Like I don't know. It's a really weird art style.
I think the green lines are supposed to be like blinds in the wall or like in the door to the principal's office. I don't know, looking at the background from the principal where it's blue, it kind of looks like they're supposed to be in like a skyscraper or something.
Yeah, it's very
Looks like
confusing. Like,
a cityscape out the back.
and he barely has a face in the second panel. The kid, like, it's just like a couple lines. Uh, and
Well,
this guy's got a Patreon.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, I debated whether or not to crop that out. I decided against it because I might disagree with the art, but it's still like, I don't know. Don't go to the Patreon, but you at least know who did it. But yeah, also like I'm not going to criticize the art too harshly because like take the worst panel, take the worst thing that he drew in this. It's miles better than I can do.
Yeah,
So
I just
anyway, we
think
got
it's kind of funny.
Roylan Houchins said, "I'm a 40+ woman who dresses like that." So
There you go.
there's that. And then we have the Redhead Libertarian says, absolutely fucking not, on a screenshot of the headline that says, the case for starting sex ed in kindergarten, hula hoops recommended. Now, this is, I really wish that NPR had not run this headline because that is, like, they're clearly going for clicks more than fighting misinformation. Because, you know, like, as soon as people see sex ed in kindergarten, they're thinking, I'm not teaching my kids about sex in kindergarten. We're like, no, what they teach in kindergarten that's part of sex ed is consent. Don't, like, if somebody touches you in a way that makes you uncomfortable, you're allowed to tell them no. And if they don't stop, you can go find a trusted authority figure and get them to stop or get them to intervene and like help. Like, how do you identify a trusted authority figure? And like the hula hoops are like, you put hula hoops on the ground, you stand in your hula hoop, and you don't go into someone else's hula hoop space unless you have their permission to go into their hula hoop space.
Right. But see, when you crop this image out and all you can see is the title, like my mind is going to like dirty places. Like,
Oh,
what are the hula hoops
yeah,
for? Like,
absolutely. That was what I thought originally too. So like, and clearly whoever wrote the headline was hoping to get clicks based entirely on that. But like
yeah,
that's not helpful for the case for starting sex ed in kindergarten.
I would expect better from NPR.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, someone says, speaking of art, when do we get to see the fan art from your Surus Universe crossover? It's on Twitter. I have retweeted it a little while ago. I should probably, I have enough fan art. I should probably maybe start the streams by showing some of it. Some of it I
I
can't show on stream. There's some of it that is very explicit, and I'm not putting that up on stream.
I just had somebody make me my first piece of fan art recently, so that was pretty
Oh,
exciting.
it's such a good feeling. I love fan art. Every piece of fan art that anybody has ever sent me. I have a folder. Well, some of it is like I still have it, but I'm not sure where it is. It's on my hard drive somewhere. But like I now have a dedicated folder that I know exactly where it is, and every time I get a piece of fan art, I save it to that folder. And every now and then I'll go through it and I'll just look through them, and it gives me like this little warm fuzzy feeling. I love it. The fan art's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, moving on. Oh, this was fun. So Ben Shapiro said this should be every Republican ad from here on, from here to the election, and it's Biden with a chyron on the bottom says Biden celebrates Dems Inflation Reduction Act, and then right beside it is the Dow Watch, which it's down 3.99%. So the fun fact about this is I did just a little bit of googling, and obviously stock market very complicated. Um, like I looked up, does it correlate with inflation? And like generally what you see with the stock market is that inflation will usually make it go up at least a bit because businesses are now charging more money for the same products. They're making more money. They have more revenue to report back to their shareholders. So stock prices go up. Now, sometimes they like if it's sustained inflation over a long period of time, they will go down as well. But the initial reaction that the stock market has to inflation is it goes up. So it's on a
Yeah,
bit of a
the
time delay.
president doesn't control that, you know? Like,
Well, yeah, but because he passed the Inflation Reduction Act.
mm, I see.
But also, so I looked into the numbers. The Inflation Reduction Act passed what, end of August?
I think so.
So I got a graph of the inflation over time. So over on the right hand side, you can see in June it was at its high at 9.1%. For August, it was at 8.3%. So like that, it's still too early to actually see results from the Inflation Reduction Act, but like inflation's on its way down at the moment.
That's good. That's a good thing to see because it's been way up, you know, with the lockdown and COVID and everything. I know gas prices went up, the price of food had gone up,
Mm-hmm.
and gas prices have come down a
Oh,
bit recently, but then food has gone up again.
it's hard
So
for me to get my grocery shopping done for the kids for less than $200 a week. That's a
yeah,
lot of money. And
yeah, it's
it's
it's hard.
it's literally money down the toilet because all the stuff that I buy at the grocery store ends up in the toilet. But I do love food though, so it's not really wasted. Oh, we got
Yeah.
the president controls the gas prices. Yeah, all that whole discourse. It's like gas prices all over the world went like I my gas prices they just came down to about $1.40 per liter. I don't know what that is in dollars per gallon, and I'm not going to bother to calculate it. But it's like, let's see, when it was about $1 per liter, I think that's about $3.80 per gallon, and $1 per liter is about the norm in my area. So and it went up to $2 a liter, so I guess that would be like $7.50 a gallon.
Wow.
I'm not sure. I'm bad at math, so I feel free to check these numbers on me. But
Yeah,
yeah,
me
our
too.
gas is much more expensive than gas in the states, and it always has been. And when the states' gas went up, our gas also went up. Biden doesn't control our gas prices. Gas
Yeah.
in Germany went up. I don't know why I said Germany, because everywhere in the world gas went up.
Hmm.
Almost like there was a war in a major oil producer.
Yeah. Geez, I saw some footage from the war, and it was really terrible. Like the Russian forces left one of the major areas of Ukraine, and they were just all these bodies left behind in the streets. People have been executed. It's really terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, so Biden's actually doing what he can to curb inflation, but again, inflation's kind of a global phenomenon at this point. So there's not really much that he can do. I mean, he's got more influence than other world leaders just by virtue of the fact that it's the United States that he runs,
Yeah.
but still. Laverne Spicer. I keep hearing about the need for trans rights. What rights don't trans people have? Well, depends where you are. In some places, they don't have the right to use the bathroom that they identify with.
Sometimes it can be hard for people to get their name or sex changed on their identification papers and
Mm-hmm.
their documents. They have to jump through a lot of hoops.
Healthcare. They have a lot of trouble getting healthcare. And
Housing discrimination.
yeah,
Sometimes people can get kicked out of their houses or not get, you know, uh, won't get accepted into an apartment building, something like that. Um, just general discrimination in society.
yeah. So I guess what it comes down to is that on paper they have the rights, but in practice they are being heavily discriminated against. And so we need to put protections in place to make sure that that stops happening.
And also, we want to retain the rights that they have.
Yes, because it like if Laverne Spicer has her way, they're going to have less rights tomorrow than they do today.
Also, trans people in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Trump had his whole thing where he, I think wanted to stop uh, trans people from being able to join the military. I forget the specifics of that, but it seems like it was so long ago, the Trump presidency. I've tried to wipe it from my memory.
Yeah, right. Okay. And oh, that was it. All right. So that's our tweets for today and the news for today. Thanks for joining me, AJ.
Oh, you're welcome. This has been a lot of fun. So
So
thank you for having me on.
again, check out his channel. Links in the description, and I think you can just click on the name that I tagged him with. So should be easy to find.
Yep.
And yeah, so with I forget what I said was going to be my catchphrase sign off. There was something, but I don't remember.
Good night and good luck.
Sure. Fuck off, y'all.
Yeah.